Hey, it's Matt with Midwest Guns and Gear. Beautiful crisp fall morning out here on the deck, and we're gonna have another Wheel Gun Wednesday. Talk about some fine firearms, and well, let me grab the camera and I'll give you a look. I got them lined up right here. Look at those beauties. Those are 4 Colts, and we're gonna talk a little bit about them. The firearms we're gonna talk about today is the Colt Trooper. I've got mine right here. This is the Mk III Colt Trooper, and these are a little bit of a forgotten firearm. I mean, you'll see them out there. It used to be years ago. Any gun store you go in, you would see one of these in some variant. Even later on, this was renamed the King Cobra, and you know, even those, I mean, they have brought that back even. But this is the Mk III, or the Mark III version of it. Now, the Colt Trooper originally came out in a .38 special. Just had a rounded barrel. You didn't have the rail or the rib on the top of it that later versions had. They were in .38 special. Then Colt came out with the Colt 357, which basically looked like the old Troopers back then. It was just a little beefier, and it would shoot 357. And then Colt kind of figured, well, might as well just make the Trooper in 357. So then that became the main caliber that it was chambered in. Now, when these originally came out, they were out before the Python, but Python came out while they were being made, and the Trooper was kind of considered a cheaper alternative to the Python or the Colt 357. They were marketed towards law enforcement. There were a lot of different variations on these, and they sold really well. I mean, this is probably double action revolvers. The Colt Trooper, especially the Mark III, and the Ruger GP100 are probably my 2 favorites, especially as far as double action goes. The Python, you know, I've got a couple of Pythons. We're gonna show it, compare it to this here in just a minute. But the Trooper Mark IIIs, I've got mine here. This is one I bought for my son when he was starting to get into shooting larger handguns, and you know, they're accurate, very little recoil, even with the 357 on them. The reason my son wanted one is I had come across this one. It was in a little rough shape. I've had it re-blued. I believe I did the re-bluing myself, actually, so not the beauty of a Colt, but if you would have seen this when I got it, this is nice looking. But I had this. My son, who would shoot with me a lot, he shot this a couple of times, and sitting up here on the deck, we'd be hitting the targets that are way down there with no problem with this. And when we go to shoot, he would always be, you know, like, hey, when I'd ask him what he wants to shoot, his answer would be, I want that really accurate 357 that you've got. He didn't know what it was, but he just knew it was the really accurate 357. So when he got a little older, for birthday or Christmas, I had come across one and got him one as well, which, you know, it's one, we do carry these occasionally. They sit in the safe more than anything else, but when they come out, always gets us excited, because these are fun guns to shoot. Now you got the Mark III. Later on, Colt came out with the Mark V. I'm going to cut here for just a second because I got to blow my nose. Okay. 3, 2, 1. And I've got an example of a Mark V right here. This is a Colt Peacekeeper. They had them in a couple different models. This was while Colt was having a strike going on, and they did not have the people that could do the royal bluing that they were pretty well known for. So they started parkerizing these, and these were only out for a year, maybe not even that long. There weren't a lot of these made, but this was one I just happened to come across when I was younger. Well, I mean, old enough to buy a handgun, but, you know, starting to collect firearms and starting to collect Colts. This was about the third or fourth Colt that I ever bought. And I saw it, I saw the rib, it said it was a Colt, and I'm like, oh, that looks like a Python to me. So, you know, my 21-year-old self hurried and bought it. And compared to the Python, you know, once you really look at them at a Python, there's a good bit of difference in them. Python's a little heavier. Main thing is you see the you get this on the bottom where it doesn't extend all the way out. But you know what? When I was 21, I thought I had a Python here, and I love this thing. This was just really cool, and it's fun to shoot. I had no idea what a Peacekeeper was. I mean, this has some holster marks on it, which, being a model that wasn't made too well, I probably shouldn't have carried it, but it didn't matter. I love shooting it. Most of my guns, even the ones that are collectibles, I shoot them still, and so yeah, they'll have a few marks on them. But you know, the two of them compared, this has a 4-inch barrel, this has a 6-inch barrel, and the 4-inch barrel is a lot heavier on my Python than on the Trooper or Peacekeeper in this case. But like I said, they're accurate, they're very fun guns to shoot, they don't bring the price that a Python's going to bring. Later on, these were renamed the King Cobra, or went by the King Cobra name, so the Trooper kind of faded away. But that's a little bit of a look on these great firearms. Now I'm going to throw my glasses on, pull up Wikipedia, and give a little bit of the information on the Colt Troopers. Now the Colt Trooper is a medium frame double action revolver featuring a 6-round cylinder. These were mainly chambered in .357 Magnum, although they did make them in .22 long rifle, .22 Winchester Magnum rimfire, and .38 special. Caliber cartridges, designed as a less expensive alternative to the upscale Colt 357 and the later Colt Python. It was marketed to law enforcement agencies as well as civilians. These were introduced to the firearms market by Colt Manufacturing back in 1953. The Trooper and its high-end cousin, the .357 Magnum, were introduced with the intention of addressing the medium-frame revolver market, as law enforcement officers had long complained about the weight of earlier models. The two guns were seen as ideal in size and handling characteristics for the .38 Special and its big brother, the .357. Offered as an alternative to Smith & Wesson's Model 28 Highway Patrolmen, the Colts were lighter and handier. Now, the first generation of the Trooper came out in 1953. That went to 1969. And like I said earlier, at first they were .38 Special. They were also offered in a .22 long rifle, but .38 and .22 long rifle, they had a rounded barrel. They did not have any sort of a rib up top, and they were made in the Colt Royal Blue. Just kind of giving a little synopsis of those as I get to the ones I like more. But after the introduction of the more expensive Python in 1955, Colt discontinued the basic .38 Special Trooper in 1961 and did away with the .357 moniker, so they renamed the .357 the Trooper. The new offering retained the .357 Magnum chambering and frame-mounted firing pin, but kept the early level revolver's more subtle finish. In the late 60s, Colt began to be concerned with a decline in its market share because of price increases brought on by high labor costs. And in response, they brought out an entirely new product line of revolvers that was dubbed the Mk III series, which debuted in 1969. Intended to be the first major advancement in Colt's design since the beginning of the 20th century, the Mk III used the new J-frame. It had no parts that were interchangeable with the older Troopers. The new revolvers employed the transfer bar lockwork system, where any revolver could fire only if the trigger was deliberately pulled completely to the rear. The springs used in the Mark III internals were also an improvement, unlike the older flat style. They were coiled and made entirely of corrosion-resistant stainless steel. The 357 Magnum Trooper was the premier offering of the new product line, featuring a heavy barrel with a solid top rib as well as a shroud which protected the ejection rod. A new ammunition chambering option, the .22 Winchester Magnum, became available for the first time with the Mk III. Now, there was another model with the Mk III that was out there, and that was the Colt Lawman. It was a 357 Magnum service-grade police-issue version of the Trooper, more of an economy model that was intended for law enforcement looking for cheaper sidearms or for private armed security. The Lawman came with fixed sights, no ejector rod shroud. Early Lawman revolvers came with thinner hammers and narrower triggers. Now next, we come up with the Mark V version. That came out in 1982 and it lasted until 85. And as with the Mark III, the Mark V series was an entirely new product line of models, which included official police, lawmen, and trooper variants. The Mark V series, or Mark V, MKV series, was based on a new, slightly smaller V frame, similar in size to Smith & Wesson's K frame. Changes from the Mark III models were minor, and many parts remained identical. Internally, Colt did away with the iron Mk III lockwork in favor of cast parts. The improved trigger action with the new components and a shorter hammer fall. These improvements made the Mark V trigger smoother, while the diminished lock times increased accuracy. External modifications included compact grip frame and rounded grips. Now these came in a couple of different models. You have the Trooper, which is the regular blued version. The Lawman, which external options and finishes for the Mark V Lawman remained identical to the Mark III versions. The White Tailor, which was a variant, a very limited production run, which was intended on the hunting market. It came equipped with an 8-inch barrel and a telescopic sight mounting rings. The Boa, an extremely limited variant produced in 1985 for the Lou Horton Distribution Company. It combined high polish bluing and ventilated barrel rib of the Python on the frame of the Mark V, and then the Peacekeeper, which was a Parkerized low-budget version. It came in a 6-inch barrel. They also had some 4-inch barrels. And like I said, this was during a strike when they couldn't do the bluing that Colt was famous for, but they could still Parkerize, so that was kind of what was done here. Now another thing that you'll see on these occasionally, and I've seen them go by a few different names, is for a lot of times people would take the Mark III and the Mark V Troopers, and you could get on like Numerix, gun parts, ink. You could get in their catalogs and you could buy the Colt Python barrels super cheap. And what people would do is they would take these, they would take the barrel off, and they would put the Colt Python barrel on these. And when you did that, they, unless you really look close, I mean, they looked like a Python. A lot of people bought those thinking they were Pythons. I've heard them go by a couple of different names, and I've seen several of them, and they shoot and they handle really well. I mean, you don't have a Python, you don't have a Trooper, but you kind of got a mix of the two, and those are definitely some interesting ones too. Now, like I said, I brought the Python out here just kind of to compare it size-wise a little bit. The Pythons, I've got a couple Pythons. I've had a couple over the years. This is just really a shooter grade one that I grabbed out of the safe. The Pythons are nice, don't get me wrong. They're iconic. I love shooting the Pythons, but if I had a choice between the Python, the Mark V, or the Mark III. I'm probably going to go with the Mark III. I really love this firearm. It's made incredibly well and just great to shoot. So that's a little look at the Colt Troopers. Now we're going to do my favorite part of these videos. We're going to head down to the range and we're going to have a little fun, so come join us. We made it out to the range. I've got the two Troopers, well, I guess the Trooper, the Peacekeeper, and I've got the Python with me, and we're going to pop off a few rounds. We're going to start with the Mk III. Let me put my hearing and eye protection on. All right, we got 6 out of that. Now let's grab the next one. I've got the Peacekeeper or the Mk V. And last but not least, we've got the Python. That's a look at our Colt Trooper and a little peek at the Colt Python. Like I said, I'm going to do another video strictly on the Pythons, but we're just working our way up to it. We got a lot of product to get to. It's Matt with Midwest Guns and Gear. If you enjoy the videos, please consider giving us a thumbs up or subscribing to the channel. It's much appreciated. It helps the channel grow. If you've had any of these handguns in the past, if you've had a Trooper, a Mark III, a Mark V, maybe one of the earlier ones, or a Python, tell me about it. If you've had multiple ones, like a Trooper and a Python, tell me what you thought the difference on them was, even if it's, say, a King Cobra or a Python. Always love to hear. Till next time, have a great day.